Mike Lamb, man, thanks for coming, dude.
What's
This
up,
is
man?
awesome.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Let's start off. I brought the whiskey.
Okay.
You want a glass?
Let's get a glass of whiskey.
These old mason jars I grabbed.
There you go.
Why don't you grab your own piece of ice so I don't spread my germs?
We'll just. There we go.
Perfect.
So, where did all this begin? We know each other from ballpark.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I'm glad you said that because I have a different respect for someone who has walked the stands in August, right? Like that's my
Not just walked them, but carried like 3 cases of beer.
yeah, exactly.
That's the
I sold beer there. That was your main thing, right? You sold
just
beer.
mostly beer. Yeah.
Well, I think when I first started there, I was 16,
Okay.
and you can't sell beer at 16,
Yeah.
so they just made me sell hot dogs, and Judd Taylor and I would get there super early and get the good assignment,
Yeah. That was the play.
and so I sold hot dogs
Okay.
in the good section, right, where you're selling
behind home plate. area.
5, 6. Well, really, the whole bottom, anytime on the bottom level.
Yeah.
Behind, not outfield. Outfield was good, and I guess it would depend on how good they were
Yeah.
as well. But I got to sell beer when I turned 18, and it made me get so much more respect for the beer guys. Just carrying that thing, I was like, wow. The hot dog thing was heavy
Oh, I can imagine.
and bulky,
Sure.
and it had the steamer in it as well.
Oh yeah.
So you're
And it's hot.
yeah. Oh, dude.
This giant metal contraption. You'd
Yeah.
think that somebody would invent something a little better than that, but
Yeah, and maybe they have now. Have you? I feel like I
don't
don't
know.
go as much, but I feel like it's not the big box that I had.
Well, I don't know. When I go, I don't really carry a lot of cash with me anymore. So I always just get up, and it's a good excuse just to get up and walk around for a second to go to the vendors.
go to the vendor.
Yeah, out there. So
Outside, yeah. Well,
cheers, man.
yeah,
We didn't.
Yeah, buddy.
It's good.
Makers on the rocks, man. That's the way to go. Yeah. So Joel Neal.
Yeah.
I think that's like where he and I became the closest of friends for years. And just the further he moves away, it's hard. And
Sure.
kids
Yeah,
and
yeah.
family, it's just harder to be friends. We still keep in touch. But up until a few years ago, man, I mean, we were regular friends, and I met him there at the ballpark in Arlington.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. So I got a little. I don't want to one up you on who you met at the ballpark, but my wife and I became friends at the ballpark.
Really?
And then we're friends for a long time, and then later, like years later after all that,
Yeah.
started dating and
Well done. Well
married
done.
and 2 kids, and everything's great. So
That's so cool. She was working?
yeah. So she used to sell, was it Big Kahuna ice
Oh,
creams?
yeah. Big kahunas.
Yeah.
And lemon chills and
Yeah, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
well done, dude. I mean, that's like that's a cool little story. Just
Yeah.
I think there were 1 or 2 girls I was sweet on then, and
Sure.
spent a lot of time with them. It was
Yeah.
really cool. And one that was a really good friend too. So,
Yeah.
And Joel, he always kind of makes fun of me about giving podcasts. I told him I was having you on,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he got a kick out of that. Hopefully, we'll get a listen from him.
Yeah. He always calls me up at random times. He's like, "Hey, are you going to this concert?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yes.
"No, but I feel like I should."
Yeah.
If you're going, it's probably good.
now that you've said something, I'm in. So he, it's not Joel, but I was going to say, I'm glad you went to the Salcedo group party.
Oh yeah.
That's where I ran into you again. I
Yeah,
probably hadn't
yeah.
seen you
Sure.
maybe on Facebook.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but in person in a
in
long
person.
time. Yeah.
It was good to chat with you and catch up, which made me feel more comfortable about inviting you
Yeah.
on. But not only that, disc golf.
Oh yeah.
Dude. I've being that was your first time. I had that experience, years before, and it was fun watching you get
Yeah.
into it, and enjoy it. Grand Prairie course. That's when I really noticed you were playing the Grand Prairie course.
Yeah.
It's like a difficult course.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And I kind of wish it wasn't that way. I'd play it more, but I've lost more discs
Yeah.
than I can think of.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got out there. It started back in May. I was just kind of when this whole COVID thing started.
Ooh.
I have a buddy that I used to play ice hockey with, and He's constantly playing disc golf for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years or something like that. I hit him up. I was like, hey man, I just want to go out and play, and he's like, all right, cool, let's go.
Good.
So we made it a time, and he took me out, and we played, and then we got done, and he's like, I was like, this is awesome, man. I want to do this again. And he's like, well, here's a bunch of discs. And he just gave me a whole stack of discs. He's like, you don't even spend any money. Just go start playing. And so after that, I came home, my wife's like, oh my God, you're getting into another hobby, right? Because here we go. You're a musician, you photography, you're getting like all these expensive hobbies. It's not that expensive.
No, disc is probably the cheapest.
Yeah, but $1,000 worth of disc later,
okay, yeah, it is. Okay, it is. No, I bought a few discs.
Yeah.
And I've picked up a few
Sure.
that you find, and you're kind of like, it's here. It's probably been here a long time.
Yeah.
It's mine now.
Yeah.
And of course, I know guys that'll go fish for them.
Yeah.
I'll bet there at Turner Park, there's probably a few in that.
Yeah. Well, they got guys that'll go out and find them, and then if they got a name on them, they'll call them.
Very cool.
And then, which is cool, but then they give you a couple weeks, and if you don't reply, then they keep it and they'll resell it.
Sell
or
it for a
something,
couple dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they always sell it for cheap too. I
Yeah,
noticed
yeah.
that. I've bought one from a guy before. That we had more or less a community meeting for input on what to do with Turner Park.
Okay.
The city hired a architectural landscaping firm, right,
Sure.
to go out and look at the park, and they went through the whole process and so. Remember, this is, and I don't want to be negative, but this is just an information meeting. What can we do here?
Yeah.
And that's the people's job, is just to design,
Just figure it out,
an
yeah.
idea. Well, the idea that didn't include disc golf.
Oh,
right?
really?
And so they came out, man. The
Yeah.
disc golfers came out.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, not anybody from Grand Prairie. Or one guy, I think the guy who helped bring it there.
Put it together, yeah.
was from Grand Prairie. But it was like,
Yeah.
20 people, and they're like, they would say things like, look, this is father-son time, or
Yeah.
this is father-daughter time.
Sure.
Like, we do this, and this is the time we get to hang out together.
Yeah.
And you guys are, so there's some pretty intense, and again, it kind of didn't matter because this is the design phase, right? This
Right.
is like not even, it's just an idea. Okay, what can we do here?
What's cool about it is it's free.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's free to go, and you go into the park, and so far all the people I've met. I mean, I've played most of the entire Metroplex,
Yeah, okay.
most of the courses at this
Wow.
point. Right? I've
Nice.
every Sunday morning, I've got a crew of a couple guys, and 7:30 Sunday morning,
Yeah.
we're at the course.
How many guys?
Well, it fluctuates between 2 of us and 6 of us.
Nice.
So just depending.
And
But-
everybody, so what, after your tee off, what do you do? Do y'all just spread out and just trying to get in front of each other?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like playing ball golf. I mean, it's like
whoever's the furthest.
whoever's the closest, you stop and ridicule them for not being able to throw it very
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
and then go from there.
That's me. I was that guy, and simply after just playing a little bit,
Sure.
at least on the drive, I could get it out there. It's still
Yeah.
slice,
Yeah,
but you at least get it close to the deal. And that's what I love about it. Anybody can play.
yeah. I mean, I took my wife out there. I don't know, probably the second week I was into playing, and I'd played like 6 times, and I was
Yeah.
like, I was getting a little bit
Yeah.
better. And I was like macho. I'm like, I'm this big guy. I'm gonna throw this. I took her out there the first time. She's also an athlete, so she
That
grew up
helps.
playing competitive softball
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Oh, good.
she got out there and just like shucked this thing across. I was like,
What
what the hell, man? Like, you're kicking my ass here.
Good.
But like, I mean, that's what's cool about it, is it's so equalizing. I play with older guys, younger guys, and
Yeah.
kids, and I mean, everybody can go play it, and it's fun. So,
Yeah, so it's almost a pride thing. Like, you want to do something more athletic. No, I mean, this is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is leisure activity, right?
Sure.
Like, and there is a workout to it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially at Grand Prairie, we were walking those hills.
Yeah, I think
mean-
it's like 2 miles. I turned on my Apple Watch and like
Good.
tracked it. I think it was like 2.5 miles or something of
Good.
walking, up and down hills, sweating, carrying a bag, throwing
You did
discs.
it all through summer, huh?
Yeah, I've been doing it all through summer, man.
I walk the dog in the morning, and I used to walk her in the evenings, but
Yeah.
I just don't do it anymore.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if I mean, I can handle it, but I just got to get in the mindset.
Yeah.
Usually
Well, I
I'm like,
started-
I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I started like probably a year or 2 ago with I started studying Stoicism, and so I was looking at like how I can like improve my life in different ways.
What'd you call it? You were studying what?
Stoicism.
Stoicism?
So Stoics
Okay.
philosophies and stuff.
Nice.
And so I started looking at like how to like do things intentionally now. So one of the things they talk about in there is like intentional poverty and stuff like that, and like putting yourself in a situation where you're practicing the worst.
Sure.
Like
I get that.
So fasting, things like that, and a lot of people do those things just generically. So, but I was like, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna walk for at least 30 minutes every day. Rain, sleet, snow, doesn't matter. I'm gonna go out and do it. And every single day I've gone out in the pouring
Really?
down rain.
Really?
I'm that weirdo that's soaking wet. I walk out of the house and I'm just like, I'll be back in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I like subject myself to it, and it's a lot of mental because it's like it's cold, you're raining, and you're freezing, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Why did I do this?
why did I do this? And it's like, well, it could be worse, but if I ever need to,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Well, I mean, I do the exact same thing. Honestly when I say that, and I guess I'll admit the past 6 months I've not done it as much, and that's interesting. And you're actually kind of inspiring me right now. But I mean, I seriously, I work at Calvary Church with the kids.
Yeah.
And the youth minister's an older guy. And he's like, if you see Cole walking down the street, it's okay. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
And I was just thinking, where I'm located here, I can walk downtown Grand Prairie down and back the other end.
Yeah.
And it's not like Bishop Arts, right? But
Sure.
it's still like this major area.
It's a nice,
with little
it's a nice little walk. Yeah.
And I've done it in the evening a few times.
Yeah.
And so I should be doing it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I started doing it more, or like seeing more people doing it I used to do it at like off time. So I would do it like late at night. I'd go at like 9 o'clock at
Sure.
night. When all the kids were in bed and everything was done for the day, it's like, okay, I'll go for my walk, chill out, like clear my head, and then go to bed. But I'm seeing so many people in my neighborhood
Really?
get out and walk at like really busy times. So I'm
Well.
going out walking with them too, and I'm just like, hey neighbor, hey neighbor. I've met so many of my neighbors that way.
Hey, way to go, COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's got to be a reaction to that, because suddenly you have the time to think about
Sure.
putting that in. It's like, get home, get dinner, get relaxed, walk. What? No, I'm going to bed. And so with COVID, I'm sure many folks are trying to get out. That's a topic always, but I'm just ready for it to be over, man.
Yeah.
It's
I am for certain parts of it, but there's a lot of it that I don't want to be over because one, I'm not driving to work. And so my office is in Frisco. And
wow.
I was only going there 3 days a week to begin with.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, it's 42 miles one way.
So do you think there's obviously you can work from home.
Yeah, well, my company sells remote working software, so it's like we're a poster child for it. So we're not in any hurry, but the point is like, with that whole process, it's been able to allow me to focus on my wife and my kids more, my family.
I believe it, yeah.
We have dinner together. We have
that's so
more
cool.
conversations together now that people, before I was in traffic. I was stuck. I was an hour and a half drive home.
Oh, yeah.
Every day. It didn't matter. And I dreaded it, man. It was like, oh, I don't want to go home.
Yeah. What? So now you're able to experience that. The hour and a half that you're in the car is an hour and a half relaxing, hour and a half playing disc golf, an hour and a half walking around meeting your neighbors. And that's far more important. I'm going to say it than a paycheck, right? Like,
right.
And obviously you got to survive.
Yeah, you got to survive.
How old are your kids?
9 and 6.
Oh man, so they're just like all into it, man.
I'm
sure it's not little babies. They're running
no,
around.
They're running around and the homeschool thing going on and all that. So it's been great, man. For me, and I'm not, I haven't really changed anything about what I was doing before that I can't do now. So
work-wise or just anything?
Work or anything, really. I mean, the only thing I miss about work is like a whiteboard, right? Like getting in a room with my team and just whiteboarding stuff. But
I get it, yeah.
A lot of the guys that work with for me and on my teams, they're all over the world.
Wow.
I got people in France and Sweden and stuff that work for me, and so I don't know where they're probably at home. I don't know if they're in the office or not. Like,
as long as you're working, you're collaborating and getting things done. So the post-COVID, I think, is that like
sure.
I don't like even talking about it because it's like literally a political conversation sometimes. But like, you know, they're going to figure out that people are going to start working from home. I mean, like,
Yeah.
the big corporations spending X amount of dollars for this big office in an area, and half their workforce is working from home. I mean, it's just simple cost savings, right?
Right.
And maybe there's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you just got to start paying things that are at people's home that offsets what you're saving for the office space.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you have to start giving them a stipend for a desk and internet and all that other stuff? Because right now, like, when it first started, everybody just took that for granted. They're just like, everybody that works for us, and this is every company, has the internet, you know, and can work from home. You know?
That's and so if it's a work-related thing, I guess worst case, you write it off, right? Like,
sure. I mean, I guess you could write that off, but I mean, I've had an office at the house, like, and it's been a priority at my current house and our previous house because I've always worked remotely because I'm an IT dork, and so they, you know, so I've always had that space that's set up, but not everybody has that. Everybody, like, people have like a kitchen table and like that's where they work, or their couch or something, and so
So one of my realtor friends was telling me, my broker actually was telling me how that's the thing is people are they're been at home for a while.
Yeah.
They're realizing their probably home is a little bit too small because they're working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to get a bigger place. So like real estate markets was hot, stayed hot.
Sure.
And it's looking like it may even be because people are going to transition to a bigger home.
Right.
Those that are able anyway.
Yeah, right.
That have been looking at their house now and going, maybe I can need an extra room or something.
Yeah. I think Home Depot reported like numbers that were just like through the roof recently for the number of DIYs. I mean, when I go through my neighborhood, there is a project. Literally, like every third house, there's like a crew of guys working on their house.
Yeah. So when I left the ballpark, I worked at Saltgrass. I got fired at Saltgrass. Worked at Home Depot.
Okay.
And so Joel and I became even better friends because him and his mom are there. And I got stock share there.
Okay.
And they didn't give it to me, but I got it at a discounted price.
Sure.
I had about $5,000 worth of stock for a couple of years because I was definitely into that, and it went up and I made some money. And when I started my business, we started another business, car sales.
Okay.
And I was gonna, I was like, the insurance is great, but you can do car sales. We had a guy who knew cars.
Yeah.
And I put that money into my first investments, as with other people, but the first car to buy. And like, I think I made my money back and ended up just putting it in with something else, and I didn't have it anymore. And I'm a saver. And when I have stock, normally I'd let that money go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if that was $5,000 then, I think it's like tripled since then.
Oh wow.
And it's just no big deal, right?
Right.
But having stock in Home Depot before COVID,
right?
Golly.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you did. You said IT work.
Yeah, so I work for a telecom company, and I manage their digital marketing. So
telecom is just communications.
But I mean, we sell like phone systems and remote working software and stuff like that. We're big in cruise ships, and if you go on a cruise, there's probably our phone systems are on there and a bunch of other industry.
In the rooms even.
Yeah, cool. Down to the rooms.
Cool. I've never been on a cruise.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I went on my first cruise last summer. Went to Alaska.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I would do that one.
Yeah. I didn't think I would like it, but the wife convinced me. Let's go. I was like, fine, let's go. It was a good deal. So we bought the package like 2 years before so we could pay for it all. But we got closer, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be in a boat. Like when we go on vacation, like we go on the back roads.
Yeah.
We go
That's
like
exactly.
We if there's a QT over here and a Mike Stop and Shop, we go to Mike's Stop and Shop. We go in there and talk to Mike, and see what's going on. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And I got on the boat. I'm like, I'm gonna be like stuck in this boat.
That's my exact mindset, man.
She bought me the drink package.
Yeah. Okay.
And I could get as much drinks as I wanted.
Okay.
And I didn't have a problem the whole trip.
Nice.
We got off the boat and we did some crazy adventures. We had some friends that went with us that are awesome. And they, there's one day where it's like, do you want to do the touristy thing when you get on a bus or something, go see something? We're like, no, let's rent a car. Let's drive to the Yukon. So we got in a car and we're like, when do we need to be back? Okay, this time, 7 o'clock? Okay, great. It's 9 o'clock now. We just got in a car and drove to the Yukon. And we got there and we're like, What's there to do? I don't know. We're in the Yukon.
Yeah.
Like, let's go to Whitehorse. Was a town up there. Went and found a place to have a beer.
Dude.
Got a beer in this local like dive place. Thought we were gonna get stabbed when we were going out, and the guy let us pay in American dollars and was like real cool about it. Like us being there. I think we didn't have enough money, cash, and he's like, I don't care, whatever.
So, forgive my geography. You mentioned American dollars. So when you go into Yukon, that's Canada.
Yeah, that's Canada. Yeah,
and then you went to a Canadian bar.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And did you have to cross? Did y'all stop in Canada? What about passports and all that?
Yeah, so we had to take our passports. So we stopped in, I can't remember where it was in Alaska. We stopped, but
when you're in your car.
Yeah,
and
so
like a stopping
yeah,
point.
you just go to like this 2-lane
Border.
road, and then you just get to the border, and they're like, "What's your business here? What are you doing?" We're like, "We're going to Whitehorse." Okay, what are you going to do there? When do you have to be? They knew we were on a boat. They were like, "When do you have to be back for your boat?" And we're like, 7:00. He's like, "Okay, that's cool.
Okay,
Yeah, you can make it."
That's good. They kind of say, "Hey, dude, that's probably not a good idea."
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, you don't want to go that far." But
this is almost off subject, but I like that what those locals helped you, because I remember I hiked in Yellowstone. It was Half Dome,
okay,
and it's like 3/4 of the way, and there's just like it's down from Half Dome, but you've hiked 4 or 5 hours probably, and it's like it's a major waterfall. You can't really see it because it's hard to get over the edge, but then back from it's just like just a pond, really. I mean, like a pool. A pool is the best description because it goes out the waterfall, but yet it's real calm right there. And we were getting ready to go ahead and go up to Half Dome, and everybody was like, "No, you're not going." And we were like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, it's whatever o'clock, because I don't know. He said, but in 2 hours or 4 hours, it's going to be pitch black, and if you're trying to walk back. To here, maybe if you're camping, we didn't have camping gear. Maybe like to that point, we could have gone up Half Dome and come back and camped out there. But if they didn't say that, I mean, it was getting dark on our way back.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that didn't include the extra like 3 miles up Half Dome and back. And so it lit, and pitch black in Yellowstone Mountain. I mean, you're on a trail,
but still,
it's not like there's lights, like trail lights going through there.
Yeah. Well, you could wait long enough, and the stars would probably illuminated enough. Yeah, we did. I hiked Grand Canyon one summer.
Wow.
Went from the north rim to the bottom and then out. And it took us 3 days. We did 3 days on it. But
So you're carrying camping gear?
Yeah, we're carrying backpacks and everything. That was I think that was my last big backpacking trip.
Man.
I did a couple before that in Colorado for like a week at a time. And we were coming out, and it's all uphill. Like, you're on a Stairmaster the whole time, like, for hours. We left at like 4:00 in the morning because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And we're going up, and there's all these knuckleheads that are like, I'm going to hike to the bottom and back up. And I'm like, no, you're not.
No, it's not
because I've been hiking for 6 hours, and I'm only halfway.
Yeah.
And they have to save a bunch of people. They have to, like, send a helicopter down and pull them out all the time. So
I believe it. And I would have been one of those guys if somebody wouldn't have said something to me.
But it would have been a good story.
Yeah.
Maybe expensive, but
I'll never forget the about halfway up that first part, we're doing the switchbacks, and the peanut butter and honey sandwich that I made was the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my entire life to this day.
Yeah.
You're just so, I mean, it could have been because I didn't eat before, whatever the reason. Sure. Eating that, sitting down, just sitting, and then getting the sandwich out, taking a bite, and going, "Oh man!" And I was ready to kind of go after that. So. Yeah,
those backpacking trips, man. When I would go on San Juan Mountain Range in Colorado, and we'd go for a week, so we'd be out there for 5 days, and we'd hike out and just big giant loop and go a long ways out, like 40 miles or something like that.
No way.
And when you get out there, there's nothing out there, and like you have to take everything that you need on your back, right? So there's little things like underwear, like you don't take 5 pairs of underwear, you take one, like you take the one you got on and then maybe a new one. So Wednesday was always the big day. It was like, I'm gonna change my underwear today. Excited. I'm gonna change some socks today. This is awesome.
Fist pumping.
You're like, this is so awesome. This feels so good. You put them on. Oh, this is so awesome.
A little happy dance kind of.
Yeah.
And are you just wearing dirty underwear, or are you able to wash them?
I mean, you could wash them in the
Are there
stream if you want.
streams?
Yeah, there's streams and stuff.
You know, I'm thinking a couple days. I mean, hey, everybody's stinking.
Sure, at that point,
you
I
know
mean,
what
you're out in the woods. You want to
Yeah.
stink. You don't want to smell human because there's bears and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. 5 nights, you said?
Yeah.
I think it. Well, actually, I say my first issue is carrying things.
Okay.
I've never like walking in a day all day long.
Sure.
I've never like packed on
Yeah.
before, and I think I'd have to go with somebody to kind of
Yeah.
advise me the first couple times to make sure. And I mean, I've always been more or less an outdoorsman. I hunt and all that good stuff. But we have cabins where we go
Sure.
with window units that cool you off. I feel like as a kid, I didn't care about the heat as much.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 3 or 4 years, I think I've been almost like done with it in the sense that's like
Yeah.
wintertime. You're talking about going for walks.
Sure.
I love it in the wintertime.
Okay.
I just put an extra layer on.
Yeah.
Because by the time you're walking, your blood's flowing and cold is a non-issue. And
Yeah.
sometimes if the wind's blowing and it's still warm,
Yeah.
like I said, it's kind of an experience.
Yeah.
But when I'm walking in the heat, I feel like I'm baking.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm literally like, I mean, if it's 105 out and my body's supposed to be 98 and the sun's just on my face.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It feels good sometimes. I mean, you get that sweat going, and then you just like,
that's another thing. If there is a breeze,
Yeah.
that makes a big difference.
Sure.
We have these Texas days where there's
yeah, there's some days
it's so
where it's
still.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, if you do it in the morning before noon, it's really all good.
Yeah.
If you try to go at 4 or 5, which a lot of times I was getting off work,
Yeah.
and I was like you, it was like I'm going out to walk.
Sure. I've done a couple of those in the last month or so where it's been like 105 and I'm like 3:30. I'm going for a walk.
Yeah.
I'm going for a run. I'm not a big runner anymore, but I'm going to go run today.
No. But you've inspired me because I was thinking about that this week. How I was like, I sometimes get out in the mornings.
Yeah.
And I've used COVID as an excuse as well. Like, not in the sense I know I can't go out, but in the sense of, hey, okay, this is just the way it is right now. You just kind of let your mind dwell in that, right?
Sure.
Being single, I like, one of the reasons I moved over here was to walk up to Firehouse.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker, but I'd go in there and sit at the bar
Yeah.
and have dinner.
Yeah.
I know them. I know the owners. It's my neighborhood. I've never been like the guy at the bar that everybody knows, like Cheers or whatever, but
Yeah.
I did know the bartenders, and I like the atmosphere. And but no bar. You can't go sit at the bar.
Right.
So you got to go sit at a table. So I've always been insecure about going and just sitting at a table
Yeah.
by myself. As at a bar, it's fine.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
It's different when you're at a table. So that's part of the not being able to do the things you want to do.
Sure. Yeah, I just like random things like yesterday somebody, or I think it was Friday, I met some new person in our neighborhood, and I like just did one of these wave things, and he's like, "I'll shake your hand if you want." And I was like, "Yes,
Yeah,
please, thank
yes,
you."
please.
I may have lingered a little too long. I was like, "This feels good to shake a stranger's hand," you know.
Yeah.
It's weird because I mean, there's all the Texas things that we do, like hold the door open for people.
Yeah, it's almost
You know,
like
people
you're
are
getting
kind of
too
like
close.
weirded out, and they're like, "Oh, you're a little too close." It's like, hey, man, you can't take that out of my Texas DNA. I'm going to hold the door open for a lady. That's just what it's going to be.
And that's why I hate it when people say like the new normal type stuff. It's like, look, you're not going to stop me from getting a door from somebody.
Right.
But it's interesting though. New Yorkers, I hear there's a general, they say they're rude, and I don't think it's because they're necessarily rude. It's just because they're so used to 20 people. If they open the door for somebody,
Right. You gotta
they just
open it for
for
20,
everybody,
yeah.
and it's just never been a
Sure.
thing. Whereas Texas being more spread out, you're used to less people coming in.
Yeah.
You open the door for one person.
Yeah.
It's good.
You want to get to meet them, and hey, who are you?
Hey, what do you think if somebody doesn't thank you for opening the door?
I like will wish
Yeah.
bad things on them.
Yeah. See, my approach is like, who cares, right? You're almost like, come on, dude. But on the same note, you're doing it because that's who you are, right?
Right.
Not-
I'm gonna do it regardless.
Right,
You know,
not-
because
so-
it doesn't stop me from doing it the next time. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, you're welcome.
Like,
Okay.
hey, dude. Well, and so I say that because I've heard somebody get upset about that, and I was like, wait, you're doing it for you,
Right, right.
They didn't ask you to do that,
Well, maybe I'm not doing it for me now that I think
right?
about it.
Right. And now there's a different thing if they're like carrying something
Sure.
or struggling or
Right.
something. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, like, so I know you do a lot of photography.
Right.
I say a lot. I don't know what a lot is. I just know you were taking pictures most of the
Yeah.
time I saw you. That's just another hobby, huh?
Yeah. I started doing it. I mean, I kind of did it off and on, like in high school. I took photojournalism
Yeah.
and had a camera around. I was always interested in stuff, but it was always like a secondary thing to my music and art and stuff that I was doing. And so, I got when my first kid was born, my daughter. I looked at how much it costs to have newborn photos taken. And I looked at my wife and was like, I can buy a really good camera for that same price,
Yeah.
and I can take those same pictures. I
Yeah.
promise. They weren't the greatest. I got close. I got real close. But she's like, okay, that's fine. If you're going to commit to this, let's do it. So I started this, I started at first was like, let me just imitate all of the things that, all the other people want to take pictures of for kids. And I was like, this is kind of boring. Like, this doesn't tell the story of my kids. So I started approaching it more like a documentarian, and I was like, I'm going to document my kid's life through photos. So I started just really getting real passionate about it, taking a bunch of photos and buying camera gear and doing all these different things. And then I started approaching it more of trying to tell a story of their life.
Good.
And so I've got this 9-year story of my daughter and a 6-year story of my son.
Really?
And it's not in a place where like I don't share it everywhere, and I've got all kinds of emotional photos and stuff of them. But the way I approach it is more, it's not like I want to capture the happy moment. I want to catch their real life.
Yeah.
So a lot of the photos I take that you see are more documentary style, street style. Like I'll just catch them doing something in the act,
Yeah. Very fun.
which has taken a lot of practice to get to that
Yeah.
and make it look real and authentic.
Are you thinking it's better? And I don't. It's funny because these questions are like the photographer's secret, but it's like being ready, or being ready and catching it at the right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, well,
because I like taking pictures,
Sure.
but I've always been like, I got to carry this camera around.
yeah.
And half the time there's nothing to take a picture of. So it's like, are you actively just taking at this time, or do you have that camera ready and something pops up, you're able to grab it? And
It's a little bit of both,
little bit
but
of both.
like your comment about like there's nothing to take a picture of. There's always something to
Yeah,
take a
yeah,
picture
yeah.
of, right? So that's part of the art of it, right? Like you've got to find the angle, you've got to find the story in it, right? And the elements of it. And
So are you just deciding, starting right now, I'm in picture mode, right? I mean, is that
Sure.
kind of, or like I'm going to this place to take pictures, right? Like,
yeah, well, sometimes I'll do that, but mostly when I'm just with the kids, like I just grab the camera.
Yeah.
I just always have it with me. I mean, that's the best camera you can buy is the one you carry with you.
Where you carry
like
with
your
you.
phone, whatever it is.
on the phones, as long as it's within, I mean, right here,
Yeah.
it's not, it's
You can
the
take
best
really-
camera you can get, yeah. Anytime it's like extended, right? Like
Sure.
trying to get too much background.
Yeah, I mean, like when I went to Alaska, I rented this like massive lens, and I was
Really?
hawking this thing around, taking pictures of whales and stuff. I was like, this is really cool, but this is really annoying because I have to
Yeah.
carry this giant thing around.
Hey,
Um,
I've never said that, taking pictures of whales. That's, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, when it's just like anything else you do. It's practice, man. It's a muscle memory thing. It's a lot of practice. The easy thing about taking pictures of my kids is that I know my kids. It's actually helped me know them a little bit better in a different way than other people do because I pay more attention to their eyes, their face, their facial
cool.
expressions, things like that. So I can tell in their mood something's about to happen in their mood. I know a lot of moms can,
Yeah,
are like the same
sure.
way, right? Most
Sure.
dads aren't paying attention to that
Nah.
stuff.
But with the photography, you
Yeah.
are catching on to that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay attention to that because there's times where I'll take a photo and it's like you can tell they don't want their photo taken,
Yeah.
or something's going on. But those are the moments I want to catch, right? When they're angry or whatever, because
So you're expressing emotion of your kids, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
a pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you and I take a photo, we're doing a cheesy stupid
Yeah, sure.
smile, right?
Yeah.
Like for the camera, that's one of the. It's almost embarrassing. One of the things I'm happy about, not happy about. When we go to events, I've been involved in the city for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a political thing to take pictures and be on
Sure.
the internet.
Right.
I've never been good at that.
Yeah.
I've never. I'll make posts or I'll take a picture of something else and
Right.
say, hey, here's where I am or something like that. But I don't like taking my own picture. Right?
Yeah.
Luckily, the mayor is real good at that.
Yeah.
I always
He likes to have his picture taken.
Yeah. Well, but see, respectful. I mean,
Yeah.
he does it because it's a good thing.
Sure, yeah,
like
yeah.
for people to see that.
Right.
And then he's got his wife as well,
Yeah.
who's there, and she's always on point. Point is, I've never really enjoyed that,
Right.
and now taking the camera here. Matter of fact, during COVID one day, I just went walking around and started just taking photos.
Yeah.
And the lenses, the filters that are just built into the phone sometimes,
Yeah.
make amazing photos.
Yeah.
With different colors
Yeah.
and zoom ins and zoom outs. I could see how it could be almost like addicting when you
Yeah.
start taking stuff and it coming out really, really good.
You can go down a rabbit hole with it, which I have, where you
I
go
kind
into
of-
film.
I'm kind of learning that about you. I've
Yeah.
known you a while, but not this well. It sounds like that's a good thing. That's a good characteristic,
Yeah.
especially when you recognize it and know where to focus it. Right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like the films. Like I started actually taking film photography. So I was buying old cameras or getting old cameras from people that were like, "This is my grandfather's," and it's like, "Oh, cool, thanks. I'll take some photos so I get some film and I do it and I develop it all myself at the house." And there's a whole other level of like craziness that goes into that. And like I've gotten the big 4x5 like giant box press cameras, you see
Yeah.
in the old movies and stuff. And I'll take pictures with that, but I'm the weirdo that I'll take that to the park.
Yeah.
And I'll take pictures of my kids at the park.
Yeah.
Or like I'll show up at a birthday party with one of these cameras and everybody else has their iPhone out and then
Yeah.
there's me over there with this giant weird camera. But I'm like, this is part art and part fun for me just to
Yeah.
like do this crazy thing and then see what happens.
Well, my good buddy was the best man at his wedding, Chase Hoteri, lives in Indianapolis. He listens too, so he's like one of my 7 listeners. That's how we catch up, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
But he got into photography.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's I think he just got his doctorate, and he's like a principal or whatever in a school. And he's over the years he's worked his way up to that. But he's got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And he takes pictures of them. Well, all the other parents started lifting his photos, right?
Okay.
And so, and then they would say, "Hey, well, will you take a picture of mine?" And
Sure.
take a picture of mine. And so, sure enough, he just like said, "All right, here's the cost," right? And he
Yeah.
just started charging them. And he's not making like killing or anything,
Yeah.
but it was like I got all these photos anyway. Now people are expecting me to take the photo,
Yeah.
so he just puts his watermark on it and sells
Yeah.
it. And I don't think he charges much at
Yeah.
all. But all the kids have, and I hear that's one thing, the best ones, like the groups, you go out and take a group photo of like group action, and they're so advanced, you can actually just zoom in on whichever one you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
do, and it still is high quality.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those, I got approached by a ton of people that are like, "Oh, take my family photos," which I've done for some close friends. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't, they're like, "How much?" I'm like, "Pay me what you think it's worth."
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I don't approach photography that way. Like I have to take my wife with me when I do those shoots because she has to tell me what to do.
Okay.
Like the way I approach photography is more of just I just want to catch something happening.
Yeah.
So I can go somewhere, take my camera and take one photo. But it's a cool photo because I caught something I wanted to catch.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, okay, you stand here, you
Yeah.
turn your head this
Turn
way,
your
you did
head.
this, it's like I don't know how to do that. I'm like, if you want me to take a
No.
picture of your family like at the park,
Yeah.
like y'all go to the park and just hang out or
Just-
grill or something, I'm gonna take some cool pictures.
Sounds like you're like a really good creeper.
You
No,
kind
but-
of have to be
but
with some of that.
I get it, and man, I feel like we're have similar characteristics because I think I could enjoy that. I mean, I hate the posed
Sure.
picture.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going on earlier about what I didn't like about COVID is you just got to a point where you go to an event and hey Mike,
Yeah.
somebody's like, hey, smile a little bit, and I include the council thing because that just raises it. But anytime I'm at an event, before I was on council and people are grabbing you to take a
Yeah.
picture and everybody goes, And then goes on to talking about,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, my mother, she's got cancer, so, we're just having a hard time with that.
Smile.
And you
Okay.
go, yeah, so I think she's going to be okay. And it's
Yeah.
like, and I'm joking, having fun with that, but, it
Yeah.
just jumps in the middle of a,
Well, that was the thing at the Salcedo group. So you brought that up as the last time I think we met each other for a while. They so I went to go do that for them because it was a grand reopening, and
Yeah.
I just help a friend out because they're really good people. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'll go do this and take photos and stuff. That was so hard, man.
Really?
Like
that's a Chamber of Commerce event, so everybody's like wanting to get a photo.
Everybody wants a photo, and then it's
smile.
like, and I'm like, oh, I hate taking these kind of photos. But then I'm like, I'm gonna do this because they need to have this, this memory, and so. I'm having fun with it. I don't want to like completely disparage it, but I was so nervous for like 3 days before. I was like studying.
Really?
I was like, okay, let me go look at just random event photos. And
No
I'm like,
way.
how do these photographers do this? Like, there's a style to it, It's just like wedding photos, right? Somebody's asked me to take some wedding photos. I don't know how to do that.
See,
that's a whole thing.
Yeah, I could see like a photo of Michael. It's Michael, right?
Yeah.
Salcedo?
Yeah.
Like talking with his hands, like explaining something, and somebody just kind of doing one of these. Like, that would be like a good like,
moments,
a moment that they could even put on their website type deal. But, 3 people just going, smiling is just a little bit tougher.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think he gave his dad an award, and he's teared up. His dad, everybody's emotional.
Yeah.
He's like,
Awesome.
And I'm like, I catch that moment. I'm like, that's my favorite photo of the whole event.
Good.
And then they all turn to me and smile, and I'm like, okay, that's a good one. But the one before where there's like a raw emotion, you could feel the feeling between those two, coming together there. So
I'm glad that you appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of those things that, and it's good to be in that situation. So you're helping your immediate friends and family,
Sure.
just simply by wanting to catch the emotion and not just the cheesy. Now, don't get me wrong. I got to have a picture every now and then looking good instead of going, oh, hey, kinda.
my goofy selfies of
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. What else, man? What else you got?
Man, just working.
You were talking about. You said video photography, but you had said something about you knew a little bit about the sound engineering, and then you kind of like, well, not.
Yeah, I mean, so I had back in the day, man. So in high school, I got into music and played the drums and everything. Was in a
Drums.
band.
Oh, wow.
And my mom and dad bought me. I think it was like 7th grade. They bought me a drum set, and they're like, all right, you need to learn how to play this if you want to be cool. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I like tried to play the drum set, and I was horrible. And then I got better and took a bunch of lessons and everything. And then I started joining bands after high school, and I got into a bunch of bands. So I was in a bunch of local bands around.
Drumming, being a drummer.
Yeah, being a drummer.
That's awesome.
And recording and stuff like that. And you're just around enough of this button pushing stuff that you
see
get
it.
an idea of like, headphones and.
So my only attribute is that I'm gonna say go after it. Like I'll just try things.
Sure.
And I never waited tables before. I got a job at Nice in Saltgrass.
Right.
Just walked in and said, hey, give me a job. Started my own business. Tried to start another business. That one failed. So I wanted to do a podcast, and I was like, screw it, man. I'm going to do a podcast. There was so much that like I had no idea to even think about when I first said I'm going to have a podcast. Like I just thought iPhone, iPad, mic, go, right? And sometimes the video makes it more difficult. I don't promote the actual listening as much.
Okay.
Like the Apple podcasts.
Okay.
Like I'm on Apple.
Yeah.
But I never promote that because YouTube is easier to promote.
Sure.
And Facebook videos, so I always I always wonder if I just promoted the podcast, how different it would be.
Right.
But the reality of it is it's only beneficial, right? I mean, to have a video,
Yeah.
you get people want to see it.
Sure.
I just wonder if those people would subscribe on podcast. And do it.
Well, we'll see. Well, I'll get out my promotional engine and see what
Really?
I can get
Nice.
promotions for you. But
So I have a guy that you asked about this earlier. I have a guy that I hunt with. He's like 70 years old.
okay.
But he's a roofer or owns a roofing company, and he's in better shape than you or I. And my old man is in his 60s, and he's very much in shape, and he's like the most in shape of all the guys we know.
Yeah.
His son is a web guy, and super cool dude. He talks about it that he's crazy. I mean, he is crazy. Like he's a little bit manic depressant maybe,
Okay.
and he's medicated, but he's genius.
Yeah.
And so he built my website.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do a podcast, so he's sending me the microphones, the mic stands, this and that, and the sound mixer, and
Oh, wow.
And so you asked about on the website had the floppy disk.
Yeah.
So you were looking at the equipment.
Yeah.
So he's got this 1992 computer that he basically just rebuilt.
Yeah.
And that computer does just the audio.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I turn on Audacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it records, and I store everything on there.
That's cool.
But it's got the floppy disk
Yeah.
on there. I always kind of wonder what we could put on a floppy disk. But
I don't know if we got an old copy of Doom or something we
yeah,
can play.
Doom, nice. And that's not the cartridge. That's like literally.
Yeah, it's like
big
that's 3.5 inch.
Okay,
like,
okay.
square.
It's almost like a cartridge.
Yeah, yeah.
What about the one that's a little bit bigger that was thinner? What is that called?
There was the bigger one is like just I guess a 5 1/4 or something. The ones we
Same.
had in like elementary school.
Yeah. We played the Oregon Trail.
They were
one.
actually floppy. Like the
Yeah.
other ones weren't.
I think that's on there.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think
we're gonna have
that's
to
on
check
there.
that out.
Well,
yeah, the equipment thing aside of this, I mean, you know, when you're talking about like going down into stuff, so I have a problem with when I find something I want to do, like I just go like I'm heads down into it.
Good.
Like I go crazy, which is a problem because I keep doing that over and over again, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
just a jack of all trades. I get into these things. So I've looked at. I wanted to start a podcast, and I've
Yeah.
wanted to start one for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, when I saw your podcast come up, I was like, I got to figure out how to get on that show. Like I got to come
good.
on. And then
I asked you.
you asked me. I didn't.
Yeah.
Even, I was like, I'm not even gonna ask. But then as I'm looking and I'm like, I saw your setup. I got the 2 cameras and all this stuff going on. I'm like, all I can think about is how much work and craziness is going to go on to like pull this together
Oh yeah.
afterwards. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's like you do the thing and then how much is left, right?
Well, and that's the kicker is I invested in this, and I told you to start. Like this was, I'm going to say a bad investment. The good thing is I'm having fun.
You're having fun. It's not a bad
Yeah,
investment.
and I've had these posters forever. Now
Yeah.
somebody gets to see them on the,
Sure.
the Mo posters or whatever. And I don't want to discourage anybody. Like I said, an iPad and a microphone is all you need.
Right.
I've got mobile equipment that you just sit a little device
Yeah.
on the table here. I felt like if I'm going to do this, people recognize the quality sound.
Yeah.
I think ultimately they want to listen to me or what I'm talking about,
Right.
and that's a success or non-success
Sure.
or whatever. But when you're comparing sound and two different, people appreciate that more. Brisket in Maine is a couple of guys. The Zavala's barbecue guys,
Right.
They did a few podcasts with me, and they were the same thing. Like they'd
Yeah.
been wanting to do one, and had talked about it for years. And I said, anytime this sits here for a week, then we record for an hour.
Yeah.
And it sits here for another week. So I was like, come on anytime.
Sure.
And sure enough, they've done 2 episodes now.
Okay.
And they're doing 20, 25 minutes, which is kind of recommended, especially if you're trying to build something.
Sure.
I think I determined I'm just here to have fun.
Yeah.
I want people to listen. I want it to grow, but
Right.
I'm going to do 100 episodes. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
And so
That's your goal?
Let's
Or-
see what happens.
How far off are you from that?
I've done 28.
Okay.
And COVID stopped that. You know, when I first started, I was doing 2 and 3 a week.
Yeah.
I think 1 a week's a good
Sure.
setup, and then throw a second one in there.
Yeah.
Maybe I wonder, do I count Joe and them? You know, I'm not sure because they're mentioning me and being real
Sure.
friendly about it. I'm not charging them anything. I mean,
Yeah.
what is it? I'd rather have. You know, they got 13,000 followers on their Instagram
Yeah,
page.
you'd rather have
so
that exposure,
If nothing
sure.
else, I get a little exposure. And again, it's just having fun.
Right.
I would worst case scenario. I mean, today I would like to get about $150 a month because you know what? That's what it costs per month. I rent this room
Yeah.
very, very cheaply, and I pay editing software.
Right.
But other than that, everything's equipment and paid for.
Right.
So if I found a way to offset that, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want to ruin my product
Yeah.
with clip to Bona's hair.
Yeah.
Hair design.
Yeah.
Come call us at 214. Of course, that'd be kind of cool. Just a quick.
A little something in there.
And what I'm trying to do is justify it as real estate.
Okay.
Hey, I'm an agent. you're looking to buy or sell. Give me a call, and that will. I just did it right.
Sure, there you
that
go.
Was
You
my,
just did it.
that justified.
What's your website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's your approach with the podcasting is kind of how I've been about my photography and art stuff that I've done. It's like I don't want to charge people. Like I'm doing it for fun.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I enjoy it. When the minute I start trying to make money with it, it changes. It changes everything that you think about it to how am I going to make money with this? Like this is not performing well, or I'm not talking about this or that, and I should be, and all those other factors come into it.
If you're able to catch gold. It doesn't matter if you catch. I'm saying gold. All this is art, and overnight a piece of art can be valued at something really high. If you catch the right thing, get enough views, clicks, shares, or whatever. So if you catch gold, it's gonna be mine, right? Like I'm recording it here. So even if it's Zavala's barbecue, right?
Yeah.
I'll be a part of it,
Right.
If it's mine, it's just mine, right? And what I mean by that is 20 listeners, 40 listeners, that's fun. But you say something or do something in a podcast where they want to share it and they want to share it, then it's funny. Next thing you know, it really starts growing. I think a lot of people, and Joe and them as well, kind of for a second want to get excited about the growth and how great it could be. And sometimes you fail to realize, like for them, example, and I'm not talking negative, but like, they've got a product. People love that product.
Right.
Who's behind that product? Joe and CJ. Here they are for 20 minutes.
Sure.
And I think people would listen to that.
Yeah.
Even if they don't like their topics or anything, but that's the guy we give $30 a week or $100 a week, if not more, in barbecue. I'd like to kind of know who he is.
Well, I mean, like there was a Facebook group I got on. It was like North Texas Barbecue or something on Facebook. And there's like 50,000 members in this thing. And I'm like, there's a lot of room for people to want to hear about barbecue or even hear from guys that are doing it right,
Yeah.
Even if it's not, that's the whole thing. They're not talking about how to make a brisket every week. It's like just at least the behind the scenes part of it,
Yeah, and we touched on that. I mean, if I picked a specific topic for whiskey, for example, and I wanted to talk 20 minutes, every week on whiskey, you would find a niche. And there would probably be an amount of people right off the bat that would listen to you.
Yeah.
I just think that unless you're particularly skilled, I think that's capped.
Right.
And so the main reason for doing a podcast is for people to hear conversation and normalness.
Yeah.
And sometimes we feel like we're too much individual, like our people don't think what we think.
Yeah.
Well, all the things you've said today, I feel very similar to you. You know what I mean? Like, and we hadn't talked in years.
Yeah.
And so, whether that be talking about something negative or even depressing, I have a psychological therapist on here talking about suicide before.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But for my goal is to hear other people are very similar. And I'm one character, and I think I fluctuate at times with different characters so I can relate. But then folks I bring on, each one of them will match to a certain group of people. And then, especially during COVID, that person's not alone anymore.
Right.
In normal times, it's still cool, and you realize there's people out there. But especially during COVID, I feel like you have an opportunity to find a connection.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going through, everybody's dealing with something, right?
Right.
And so when we're having conversations and if somebody played disc golf, they got 20 minutes of like, oh yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it takes them out of that negativity or whatever.
So
I'm an optimist.
But you touch on something important. I mean, I think we miss that in our society these days of just sitting down and having conversation. Like we're so go, right? Like there's something ingrained. So I tried to do a podcast sort of with my father.
Okay.
And it started off, I was thinking about like releasing it because I felt like it would be good conversations for people to hear his story of his life. Just from his generation. It's not like he's not famous in anything anyway. He's done some cool things in his life, but just for a father and a son to have a conversation.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Dad, tell me about, what it was like growing up. Where'd you grow up? Well, what was it like with your, my grandfather worked in the oil field business, but they were dirt poor. It was like,
Wow.
what was it like living in a shack, growing up in an oil field camp, right?
Wow.
So tell me all these stories. And so when I started thinking about like how to get into doing that, it was really around, when one of the best times of your life, a lot of people's lives, is sitting around a campfire
Yeah.
and talking about stuff. And just, it doesn't matter. Like everybody's equal. Everybody's sitting around the campfire. Everybody's having the conversation. There's not any kind of like, preconceived notions about anything. Everybody's just, nobody's on their phones. Well, some people are, but but
cell phones go everywhere now.
But they quickly put them down once they start to feel, the moments. And so it's really about just like sitting down, having these long conversations and recording them, right? And getting people to understand that like conversation is okay. A lot of people are getting all of their interactions with people through Facebook or tweets and all this other stuff and Instagram posts. And there's no authenticity to that. There's no feedback. Like I can't look across the table in your eyes, see your reaction, see your body posture and all that other stuff, and it's like, is he listening? Am I listening? It's just you're broadcasting, right?
Yeah, yeah. The text is written, right? I mean, it's not voice. There's no emotion in it.
Yeah.
Sitting able to talk. I love the idea of doing. It's almost like a 8-episode segment of like conversation with my father. Right?
Yeah.
Like that'd be really, really cool.
So I did that and I have them recorded.
No way.
I'm not gonna release them to the world.
Yeah.
I'm saving them for my kids.
Yeah.
Because it's like he tells me so many stories about my grandfather
Yeah.
and my grandmother and growing up. And to think about like, especially in today's times, like to think about how much change has happened in our society from the time he was a kid till today,
Oof.
like cell phones. I mean, talk about school segregation. Like, let's talk about race. Let's talk like from a white male that grew up in the South in Louisiana. It's like, let's talk about this. Like, what was it like? And to actually have those conversations with people that live through that stuff.
Yeah.
You get such a deep, interesting perspective on what life is like. You get that, you get the textbook history lesson and some of it aligns with it, but then some of it's like his perspective because he lived it, Vietnam is the same. It's like, what was it like being a Vietnam vet, coming back and he's like,
couldn't even,
here's the story, and it's like, there's a whole,
No way.
hour and a half of talking
No
about
way.
just that, so.
Yeah. And, after the George Floyd incident, I had my buddy Kirk Thurman on here. He's a musician, and he runs the coffee shop at the firehouse.
Okay.
And black guy, white boy, sitting in a room
Sure.
right after the George Floyd. And, of course, that's where the conversation went. And I'll tell you, dude, for me, it was it's the term I have black friends is so funny to me. But, I mean, I got regular guys
Sure.
I talk to on a regular basis. But I guess we don't really always talk about race, and that was the first time it really came up, and we just it was good. He said some things I don't know if I completely agreed with, but I know I said some things he didn't agree with, and we just kind of was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about it. And we talked for about an hour. He played some songs, and it was really good.
But there's probably 2 or 3 things in there where you brought it together and maybe you changed your mind on. And it's those little things like that's. People look at these things like when somebody's got to come out a winner. The conversation is the winner. Like the fact that you had the conversation and talk, that's the winning.
Right. He made a good point about your dad or my dad or these guys grew up in segregation.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally saw blacks, you go there, whites, you go there.
Right.
Like that. We can only imagine that or see a picture.
Sure.
And even with that, it's hard to put it all together. But literally in their mind, they've witnessed it. And so they're a different person when it comes to that. And he said this, and it made me feel good that he did it, but he was like, I can't get mad at them. Now, if they're Now, if they're blatantly going after,
Right,
that's one
right,
thing. But like, if they say something stupid or
Sure.
react a certain way to something, it's like you almost recognize that that's the trauma they've experienced in their life,
Right.
and that's always going to be a part of them.
Sure.
Even if they completely disagree with, I mean, they're completely on the side of let's make things better for black people, right? Like whatever,
Right.
And that's not the point of the story. Is even if they're completely on board, they still have that as a part
Yeah.
of who they are.
You grew up around a certain thing.
And
you
that was
know?
our parents.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't like way back
Yeah.
when.
Yeah.
That was our parents.
I'm probably going to call him on my way home as I drive by their house, you know?
Yeah.
So-
Awesome. You live in Grand Prairie?
Yeah, they still live in Grand
Excellent.
Prairie. Yeah.
Excellent. And you're in Grand Prairie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We,
How long have you been in Grand Prairie?
Well,
how long were you gone?
I think it's how long was I gone? It was I think I was gone for a year, my entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm 42. It was 1 year.
42. So what put you class of
96. Yeah.
Okay.
So I left for 1 year and went and lived in an apartment over East Chase and 30, and with a buddy of mine, and then got an apartment back here in Grand Prairie and
Yeah.
just brought it back home. You know.
Yeah. And were you with your wife the whole time?
No, this was before my wife, and so
Wow.
well I had a chance. I mean, we contemplated because we had bought a starter home that needed some work, and we bought that house, and when right before we got married, and I got a new job at the one I'm at now up in Frisco, and I was like, I had a chance. I could have just moved up there. I looked. I was like, this is enough drive and enough money in this job. I should move.
Yeah.
And then we started thinking about it. We're like, yeah, but you know, my parents are here, my sister's here, our family's down this way. Like everything we love about a city is here.
Good. Thanks.
We
Good
want to
hear.
be, we like it's growing. We know all the people that are in the city councils, and like we know all the people that can change things if we don't like it.
Sure.
So I was like, we have an opportunity to be really involved
Yeah.
and get out there and like make something out of our city and really use it. And so we, if we go up there, we're starting all over, and we got to make my mom and dad drive up there to see
Yeah.
the grandkids. And
42 miles,
I don't
you
want
said?
them to. Yeah, I was like, I don't want them to do that. And so, so we just said, you know what, we'll just stay here in Grand Prairie and I'll work it out. You know,
let me-
jobs aren't forever, but you know where you live is
Yeah.
you know.
That makes me incredibly happy. I don't want to blame my friend. I'm not blaming my friends, but I don't think they did anything wrong. But over time, friends. I love that the
I know.
microphone picked that up.
I know. I tried to pour it quiet.
No, that was
There's no
perfect.
quiet.
I love that. I want to do more of that. I love that. So the idea, what I'm getting at is they moved away, I stayed. I mean, I'm saying a bunch of stuff to basically just say
Sure.
and a lot of them, a couple of them are still here, by the way.
Yeah.
Two of my closest friends are still here. But we had a nice little group of friends, and we still stay in touch. But even the ones that are here and me, there was almost a sentiment of Grand Prairie sucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to even say, I don't think this was my friends, but people I know, a bunch of Mexicans are there, and it's like, whoa, like that makes nothing,
Right.
you just hear these things for
Sure.
years and years and years. And,
I've heard all those things.
and for me, it's like, I don't, whatever. I don't get it. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. Now, I always let it go by saying they're buying a new home.
Right.
Right. They're getting married, and then some of the other guys, they want to be in the middle of the Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So there's always excusable reasons, but it was like Grand Prairie sucks.
Yeah.
And I stayed around, and it sucked. I mean, and what
Sure.
I mean is like, you have to drive to Dallas to be social.
Yeah.
Less friends were here. There were plenty that were here, so
Sure.
I still had friends. I don't know what the good and bad about knowing your friends from high school. Or like some people are completely grossed out by the whole any idea of anybody from high school, and then some people it's
Yeah.
like that's my
I had a friggin' blast in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
I had too much fun in high
yeah,
school.
we had a good time, and when I see people from high school, I want to like give them a hug. Like,
Yeah.
And so you got your immediate friends, you have that situation, and then you have the folks that stick around that
Sure.
you run into. It's just an interesting dynamic. Point is, I was like, if I'm going to stay here, I'm going to try to be involved as much as
Right.
possible, and
Right.
I did that up to a point. And I actually more or less gave up. I ran for council in '09,
Okay.
really for fun. Just like, I got my business here.
Yeah,
I'm in the
yeah.
Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
I grew up that way, 5 blocks that way. Like,
Yeah.
I figured out this district, the lines. I was like, literally, this is my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran and almost won. I really upset the guy that was there, the
Yeah.
incumbent. I think like about like 3/4 of the way through, I put out my signs.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh crap!" Like they didn't realize how much work I did. It was just
Yeah.
some dude that they didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
And so after that, I kind of stayed real involved, and then just started fading out.
Okay.
And so I want to say about 2015, 2016, I was done. I'd traveled to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
Like, having to be, like we were talking about, the fake smiles and
Right.
getting involved was becoming more of a hassle. And a lot of times you just meet and you don't really do anything, as opposed to actually going out and serving and
Yeah.
being better. I moved to Fort Worth. So the way it works is I actually bought a house here to remodel.
Okay.
So I rented an apartment in Fort Worth off Magnolia
Okay.
for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I was gonna be it at that point.
Sure.
Like, I figured I was still driving in to work, but and then the incumbent 9 years before retired, and he'd been there for 23 years, which is another reason why I gave up. I was like, he's not gonna retire.
Gonna be there. Yeah.
And my point was, if I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be involved, and I'm gonna push and make my community better.
Yeah.
I can't. Remember, he was mad at me, so I always had that burden of getting shut down,
Yeah.
more for political reasons. It was not. I'm speaking more than it is. Like, it wasn't really nothing, but there's that kind of cloud, right?
Sure.
And he retired, so I was like, for me, and this is I don't talk trash and like confidence wise, but I knew I was going to win. Like,
Yeah.
I'd been here literally my entire life.
Right.
And I knew everybody. And when I ran in '09, most people were like, look, we love you, but this guy has been here for a long time,
Yeah.
and he helps us with everything. Like,
Sure.
there's no reason to vote against him. So when I ran, I just slaughtered the competition.
Yeah.
And it was a Spanish doctor
Okay.
in a Spanish heavy community and a vice president of a bank, both of whom I adore.
Yeah.
No negativity towards them, but I think that just proved, like, I knew I was going to win,
You knew
and
you were
I
gonna
just
win.
slaughtered
Yeah.
both of them, like 70%.
Oh wow.
So that makes you just talked about doing good things here,
Yeah.
building the community up, and that's like all the motivation I need when. And look, I was talking about being a Spanish heavy community. Like, we've got Spanish business all up and down Main Street.
Yeah.
This isn't like gentrification, move
Right.
whatever out of here. Like, this is the community. We had Dia de los Muertos last year.
Yeah.
First time we had done that.
Yeah. I wanted to go to that, but we had something going on.
So let's back up about 6 months to a year before that. We did like a pub crawl type event.
Yeah.
City
Yeah.
sponsored.
Okay.
And a couple hundred people showed up. And we were like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, it was exciting. We walked up and down. One was like a tax office.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we don't have a lot of bars here, right?
Yeah.
So, but we set up craft beer and
Yeah.
went to a barber shop. But we
Yeah.
also had a couple of bars. Dia de los Muertos is another downtown event that we had like 3,000 people go. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
wow.
Like,
Yeah,
so we go
yeah.
from a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
And it just taught us, like, make sure this is an event on the schedule next year. And so I don't care what the culture is. I want people to come.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole idea.
Well, and those events are cool because I mean, who else is doing that?
Right.
Right. And you know,
I learned. That was the best part about being a part of that event. I had no idea what it really even meant.
Yeah.
And when they dressed up and they painted their
Yeah.
faces.
Well, I mean, you know, this is sad, but this is probably the truth for a lot of things I know about. I learned it from a Disney movie. You know, so I was like, I don't know if
what was it called?
Coco, isn't that it?
They played it that night.
Did they really?
My BFF, Sonia Ortega, who's like 60, but she's in the Lions Club with
Yeah.
me. She was here with her grandkids. She's like, come and watch the movie with me. I was like, all right. So at Uptown Theater
Yeah.
at Dia de los Muertos, I watched Coco.
Oh,
and I
that's
was
cool.
like ingrained the whole time.
Sure.
And I would be like, hey, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And she's very Hispanic. She knows the whole culture, and she was explaining everything to
Yeah.
me. And like 3 or 4 times during the movie, awesome. And that's
Yeah.
I can't.
Those are the experiences you want, you know?
I don't know if COVID's going to stop that this year, because so real fast I said 3,000. Let's say, I don't know the number, but Uptown Theater itself and the both rooms were full
Yeah.
of people.
Okay.
And they were out the door. So so this year we were going to change venues.
Sure.
So we could handle.
Yeah.
We figure even more people were going to show that they
Right.
knew it was an event, and 1,200
We'll see.
people, 5,000. You can't do
Yeah.
that. I mean,
That's
October.
the thing. Yeah.
October's close, but it's probably too close. I don't think.
My wife joked about this before. She's like, I hope they don't mess up Halloween. You know, and it's like, but I'm thinking, you know, I've had conversations with friends and coworkers and folks in my team at work about this a lot, you know, because we're trying to figure out, like, when are people going back to work, right? Because, you know, we're in marketing. We got to change our, you know, the tone, how we do stuff. When are people going back to the office? And I don't think anything until, like, 2021 sometime, because let's think about today.
Makes me sad.
You may, I don't know, I went on a ramble about this on Facebook one day, but it's like, if this was the cure right here for COVID, that we needed to get that to everybody, then you put all of Amazon Prime behind it, like, to deliver it and get it out to people.
Yeah.
It ain't happening until 2021.
Regardless.
I mean, there's a lot of people, you know. So what's going to change? I think it's mostly just attitudes about it.
Yeah.
Really, I think it's whatever, you know. I don't get into the feelings of how I feel about it, but I mean, it's the attitude of whether or not people are scared of it or not. You know,
So
I think that's all that's changing.
I'm learning about recording with my dad and COVID. I still have this, like, hesitancy to offend someone. I'm still
Sure.
in my position. I really need to be good with everyone, and I don't mean that politically. I mean that, like, I need you to be able to come to me and talk about your problem.
Right.
Your problem is not guns, birth control, immigration.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, in my city, I don't want somebody to say his dad said something racist, or
Right.
he thinks COVID is whatever.
Sure.
Right. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not saying what it is or isn't.
Right.
But I'm always hesitant to dive into those things. So, as a leader, do I have to be silent? No. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about all these things going through my mind, and what I've concluded, and even if it offends somebody, I think I'm gonna do it anyway. I started it. Health and fitness.
Yeah.
Straight up, man. The stat that got me was 96% of the deaths had insufficient vitamin D in their
Yeah.
system.
Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, anytime, and here's the deal, nutrition, we are vain people.
Right.
We've spent a lot of money on diets.
Yeah.
And I mean people. I'm not saying you or
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
but both of us and all of us through the years have spent a lot of money on diets. The research has gone a long way. Then here's your food triangle. Eat what the government
Sure.
tells you. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it's not expensive. Like, a lot of it's even free.
Yeah.
And so I've started that road with my city leaders to say, we're going to have a meeting on it. Their reaction has almost been like, the idea is you can lead a horse to water, right?
Right.
But you can't make him drink. So we have, in the example they use, and I was involved in this, teen pregnancy resource.
Okay.
We have actually in Grand Prairie, we actually have a bad, like, it's either infant deaths maybe, or it's something that's like in Grand Prairie, it's a little worse than everywhere else. And so as a city, they distribute information on
Right.
being a better teen parent,
Yeah.
infant. I don't know.
Okay.
But the point is, we do work to fix that,
Yeah.
but it comes down to the pregnant person getting better. And so their reaction today has been, well, we can tell people to eat a healthy meal, but it's up to them to do it. Why are we
Right.
going to spend all this time and effort? And that's why I was like, hold on.
Don't throw your hands up yet.
Yeah, we are gonna spend time and effort,
Yeah.
and we'll see where it goes. But I got to do it myself not just
Sure.
for them to do it. So I shared my first deal. It was Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah.
Talking about it. And I think that's not just, I think a couple people perceive that as like one day just going, say, look here, see.
Yeah.
No, this is like one thing of, hopefully for months now, I'm going to provide, and I think I'm going to try to keep it in 140 characters.
Sure.
I'm not going to make a political speech out there that people have to read a freaking thick book to get what I'm getting across. But there's enough info, and then provide links and studies. Right. I don't want the person who's lazy or the person who was healthy and caught it to be offended. So there was my hesitancy, right? Like, but on the same note, there's something to it.
Yeah.
And this is a good time, especially like you said, you're sitting at home, you got time to walk around the block.
Yeah.
That alone, and that's part of what my argument is. People think they got to get on the serious diet,
right,
and do this intense workout, and it's like, hold on. Don't eat breakfast. Walk around the block.
Yeah.
Don't eat until your belly is about to explode and it hurts.
Yeah.
How about, let's start there.
Yeah.
And that's
baby steps.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, that's me too.
So, I mean, I'm not saying, I've gone through workout phases where I'll lift and do stuff, but I don't do that. I can't do it all the time. It's too much of a hassle, and I need to start doing it again. But I'm not doing it now. I hadn't done it for 6 months or so. But you know what? I chose to intermittent fast.
Yeah.
I don't eat breakfast. So for 16 hours, there's no food in my system, and it puts you in ketosis. That's where the keto diet comes from. So it's actually a little danger to it. You can't be in ketosis for a long time. It'll do other damage to your body. But if you do it during the intermittent time,
sure,
it can be very helpful. Boost your immune system. I
yeah,
mean, literally, there's so many benefits to it. So I'm not trying to say you should do this. See, I did it, you did it. But I want information to be out there, and I hope that, if nothing else, people can pick up and not eat the extra Reese's. I eat too many Reese's.
Yeah.
I try to eat less Reese's. Like, that's my first goal right now. So I'm not, and like you said, it's not the run 5 miles, lift 1,000 pounds, eat only ham and whatever else. So
yeah, I think that's where most people have kind of screwed up on the diets and stuff. I mean, I'm not like a physical specimen here, but it's like you do. I focus on the small thing. It's like, especially when this COVID thing started, I had the mentality starting into this. My wife and I had some discussions about this. We both came to the table and said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when I'm going to get it.
That's what.
If it's as bad as it is, it's a matter of when. So when I get it, I need to be in the best possible position to do that. So, like you said, vitamin D. That's one of the reasons I said I'm going to go play disc golf, because I need to get out more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go. I'm tired of walking. Like, I'm getting plantar fasciitis in my foot from walking 5 miles.
Nice.
Well, I did this crazy thing. I challenged myself in October to walk 100 miles last October.
Okay.
In the whole month, which was hard. And so, anyways, I did that and I developed some foot issues. But
yikes.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of like the little things like that. I mean, when people come to when you go talk to a doctor about diets, because on chart, I'm morbidly obese, man.
Really?
And it's like,
great point, man.
And so when I talk to a doctor, they're like, well, you need to go on this diet. And I'm like, well, okay, which diet? Well, you need to go do this one or this one. They'll point me to one or the other. And it's always this like drastic change in your lifestyle, where you basically take everything flip it upside down. You're running every day. You're doing, and you get tired and you can't keep up with it. But what I've found over the years, and I've been concentrating this on the last 2 years, is doing little things.
Yeah.
So I started a thing 2 years ago with I got an Apple Watch, and they got 3 rings on there. And they got a standing ring, which is you have to have stood up for 5 minutes or something for 12 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
And then they got it's like 30 minutes worth of workout, and then 1,000 calories of burn, like of movement. And I had a goal to close all 3 of those rings every single day, no matter what, for a whole year.
Wow.
And I did it.
Oh yeah.
I was sick one time.
Really?
And my ass was out there walking in the rain, sick, because I was like, I was like, you're crazy, But I picked something that I knew that I could do, and then it triggered a domino effect into the next year. So I've
Right.
got that as a baseline. So then the next
You
year
completed
was
something.
Yeah, and the next year was keep that going, and start doing yoga once a week.
Okay.
So yoga once a week.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping that going.
Really?
And it's those little bitty things like you're talking about where it's like you don't need to just throw everything you know out the window.
Do you do it at home or?
Yeah, I do it. There's an app I got.
Yeah,
that you do
yeah.
it. But it's like it's those little things, right? It's just do this once a week. Don't eat breakfast like you're saying, or
So then the question is, so a couple years now, you said, right? A couple
Yeah.
years ago. Do you feel better than you did a couple years ago?
dude, I feel so amazing.
Yeah.
Like health wise.
I-
I mean,
I believe it.
I get better sleep. I also the big one is caffeine, man.
Really?
I don't
You cut it out.
gone over
Interesting.
a year, no caffeine.
I would like to cut out Cokes, but
Yeah.
the coffee in the morning is my thing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I.
dude. It's a pure drug reaction, like withdrawal. Like you feel like crap for
Yeah.
2-3 weeks.
Really?
Like it was horrible, man. But doing that, I sleep better at night. I get 8 hours of sleep at night, man. I don't know how many people get that.
Okay.
I mean,
I want to make an argument that coffee is not bad.
it's not.
Okay.
I don't think it is for everybody.
And I always question people with that because I feel a little bit more dehydrated when I drink
Sure.
coffee. And I think it's because of the caffeine, right? It stimulates. the
Yeah, I think it
body.
dehydrates you a little bit, but like a
it's-
little bit.
But it's it's very water based.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what confuses. So it's got to be the caffeine that when it stimulates the body, it draws the water out. I
yeah,
don't know, whatever. If that's your thing and that is what changed, and it wasn't necessarily coffee, it was caffeine. So
Just
technically you could
caffeine,
do
yeah.
decaf, right?
yeah.
I wonder if I started doing decaf if I'd like it.
So I love the taste of coffee, like
Yeah.
just black coffee, like
Just black.
Waffle House, like
Wow.
been on the burner for a little while.
Really?
Like I like that taste.
Nice.
I don't know, it's weird, but
So do you drink decaf?
no, I don't.
Nothing.
No, I just cut it all.
How long
out.
has that been?
That was a year. Like it was a year,
Wow.
probably like in beginning of June, sometime. So
I don't know, man.
it's not for everybody.
Oh, I get it. No,
And that's what's so interesting about all this stuff is like I'm gonna sit here and say, after drinking a bunch of whiskey, I'm
Yeah.
don't drink caffeine.
yeah.
You drink caffeine, I don't care.
I
It
get
doesn't work for me.
I
You
get
know?
it. My dad almost he drank Coke religiously. I mean,
Yeah.
I relied on him. He always had Cokes, like especially visiting them. They always had Cokes. I just enjoy drinking Coke, and I
Sure.
don't drink it. I don't drink Cokes without a meal.
Okay.
That's been one of my arguments is I don't just like order a Coke and drink it. And I'm not trying to defend my actions, but like literally when I drink a Coke for my meal, I'll drink half a 12-ounce can. Usually there's
A little left, yeah.
Sometimes not.
Okay.
If I've worked out and you're a little bit thirsty.
Yeah.
But recently my old man quit Cokes.
Oh yeah.
And once a month I drive out to their place in Weatherford, and Mom will make a meal, and I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
And hey, where's the Coke? He's like, oh, I don't know. There may be some outside. I don't know. It's the first time I went.
Yeah.
There was one. There's a Coke out there, and then
Probably just for you.
Well, that's the thing. The next trip, there wasn't. He
Oh,
goes,
okay.
nah. He goes, you got lucky finding that one last time.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to bring some out next time I go and put it in the outside fridge. But it's one of those things I thought about. What if I cut Cokes? Like, is that something? And the way I look at it is, my justification of it is like, I drink my Coke with my meal.
Yeah.
You could drink juice. You could drink tea. I mean, drink water. I mean, water's the best, I guess.
Sure.
But until until I do, let's say, like only water, or maybe only tea, it's the same difference to me.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of caffeine, lots of sugar. Juice has lots of sugar.
Yeah.
Most people pour sugar into their tea. Tea's got caffeine. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to cut Cokes out because I'm going to drink other forms.
Right.
I don't know if I need to, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so that's interesting. You said my kids have only had water. They've never had juice.
Really?
They've never had a Coke. They've never had tea. They've never had anything,
wow.
and they don't ask for it.
By design?
Yeah.
Yeah, at first.
Yeah.
And now they.
I mean, at first, yeah, sure, but now it's like I mean, I think they've tasted it before or something. You know, somebody gave it to them, they didn't know what it was, and they're like, "Oh, this is horrible." And
Really?
I'm like, "That's your reaction to apple juice? Like, I
Wow.
love that. Give me the apple juice."
So at some point, no, I guess not. I was like, when going over to their friend's house. Is it 9? Do they go over to a friend's house yet?
Yeah, not really. Yeah,
I was just
a little
thinking
bit.
about when I would have a Coke or a drink.
Sure.
Birthday party,
Yeah.
a juice or something.
Well, I mean, it's I keep waiting for the revolt one day where it's like that's all they're gonna want to drink. You know, it's like we mom and dad wouldn't let us have any Cokes or sodas or juice or whatever.
So I don't have kids, but my dear friends Judd and Amanda Taylor, they lived with me for a couple of years while they had their first daughter until they had about 6 months in their second daughter. So they're part of my life, and I was part of their life. But she was real conscious about pureeing everything and feeding them vegetables all the time. I thought it was just pretty cool and proactive as a parent.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like, whatever, you know. I mean, any processed food's not good, but you almost justify it by saying we eat it all the time. It's no big deal, whatever. Well, she's Jessie. She was born in 11, so she's 9, and the other one's 5 or 6, and like we go to dinner and like carrots, like any okra, but not fried okra, like regular okra. I mean, like
the good stuff.
all like straight vegetables, straight broccoli, and they desire it.
Yeah.
They want that over whatever else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just, that was what was introduced to their body, and their body knows to look for that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. So it was probably tough at first, you know, focusing on that, but paying off major dividends for the health of your kids.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, look, man, I'm all about eat, drink, be happy type deal, right?
Sure.
Like, I mean, I don't want you to, we're only here for a certain amount of time.
Right. Enjoy it.
Don't be a glutton,
right,
but enjoy yourself. And when you start looking at the processed sugars, and I mean, it's almost like, how is that okay?
Yeah.
How is that legal? Sugar's one thing, but when you like turn it into a syrup and use it as a replacement for sugar, and it's like 5 times the amount of strength, and it's just so weird.
Yeah.
Talk about getting sick. Like, they say that feeds cancer. I mean, don't cite me on that. I'm a knucklehead. I don't know. But sugar is like the worst thing for cancer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet here we are just throwing it down as much as possible. All that being said, that's my hopefully continuing steps. My reaction to COVID is promoting public health, right? Like just getting folks to, and then hopefully if it's a small thing, the walk around the block once a day for a year. That's all I want you to start with, right? It could add years to your life, man, literally.
And you meet your neighbors and you know, whatever. You know, those I try to look at you know, when I've looked at health stuff here lately, especially with the COVID stuff, I don't want to rely on medicine. You know, I want it to be there. I want it to help me if I need it.
Yeah.
But when I go to a doctor, I don't want to go in there and be like totaling your car.
Here's your drugs.
Like your car is totaled. Here, fix this for me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to give them the best chance to fix me.
I get it.
You know, I want to be able to go in there and be like, yes, I've been walking, I've been doing, you know, my heart's good, this is good, but this one thing is a problem, and I'm sick, I got this, and they can treat that. They don't have to go, oh, well, you know, you got that, you got high blood pressure, sugar problems, whatever, you know, down the line. I want to walk in with the best case scenario for them to be successful in doing their job, so that when I do get sick and I need them, that they're there and they can fix it. They can help me with it, you know?
And if your body is ready to handle, like, sufficient vitamin D, which boosts the immune system, which starts to fight that disease even as you're going into the doctor.
Right.
You know what I mean? If the doctor, I always want to say, if doctors prescribed a healthy diet, we'd be in a better place. But I think they did that for a while and then kind of gave up. So 2 quick things on, I broke my arm, and I went to the hospital, and I slept that night. I didn't sleep much. Went to the hospital the next morning. Yeah, it's broken.
Okay.
They gave me a sling or whatever and gave me painkillers.
Yeah.
And I'm not a painkiller. I mean, I'm like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
do that. But I couldn't sleep. It was hurting. I
Yeah.
was in pain. It's a painkiller. Took it.
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, I was
Sure.
like loopy, dude, and I slept. I mean, it was great. And the next morning, it had worn off. It
Right.
hurt, but I was good, and something happened. I slept fine the next day and didn't need painkillers,
Yeah.
and that was it. Took one out of. They prescribed me 15 painkillers.
Sure.
Let's fast forward 10 years. This is when I was in Fort Worth. My neighbors, the coolest people in the world, she made that sign for me out there that you signed,
Oh,
the
okay.
light studio sign. She's an artist. They were skateboarders. He was a army guy, and she was an artist. They lived and met over there.
Yeah.
They had a little 2-year-old boy. We lived in an apartment. We would ride bikes in the apartment parking lot.
Yeah.
And this was not a 4-story large complex. This was like a 20, maybe 16 unit complex.
Oh, cool.
Just opposite of each other in one row. And I walked out my door, they were right across from me. So I started skateboarding.
Yeah.
First time, I'm like 35 and
Yeah.
I never skateboarded before, and I started skateboarding and love it. And they're like getting me to do tricks, and I'm like trying, and I do like a turnaround, a 180, but off the board to land on the board.
Yeah.
And I just whoop, feet. I mean,
Sure.
hit the end of the board, whipped off. I put my arm down, and she said I pulled it out, but and I put my arm and I turned, and she said that's when she thought saw it come out. But anyway, dislocated my shoulder.
Okay.
Ooh, and man, I'm not trying to act tough, but I am tough.
Sure.
It's no big deal. But my shoulder's literally out of its socket sitting
Yeah.
there. I'm going to tell the story because it's kind of cool. One of our other neighbors was a nurse, and they're like, go knock on Keith's door, see if he can help. So they knock on. He comes out. He's like, okay. So we pull on it once or
Yeah.
twice. I'm like, oh, I mean, he's like, hold on. He goes inside, gets his iPad, and Googles how to relocate a shoulder or something like
Yeah.
that. And he's sitting. I'm like 5 or 10 minutes go by. He's watching this video in front of me.
Yeah.
I got a picture of their 2-year-old getting his blanket and pillow and laying next to me.
Oh, really?
So I'm just in the parking lot, just
Yeah.
like, oh.
That's funny.
So he's like, okay. So he gets up there, and I'm like, here, hold my hand to somebody else. I wished it could have been like,
Yeah.
to get the pain away or whatever, but it wasn't that case. Anyway, he just starts turning my elbow, and
Yeah.
he just kind of turns it, and it just kind of like pops back in
Yeah.
place. There's 3 or 4 people watching, and they're like, oh, at once. Everybody's like, oh my God, they saw my arm.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you all that I don't do painkillers
Yeah.
or whatever. And I've got, they had a sling, just put it in a sling, was
Yeah.
resting it. She's like, hey, I've got some muscle relaxers. Do you want some? And I'm like, no. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
good. She's like, no, you should probably take some. And I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And she insists, she gets a baggie and she puts 2 of them in there, and she gives them to me. I'm like, okay. So we had dinner. I mean, we were
Yeah.
still, the day was still going on, and I go to bed that night, and it's just that dull.
Yeah.
Still kind of
I've dislocated the shoulder 3 times. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I know the feeling.
Oh. And look, screw it. I remember that's what they're there for.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to take one. I slept for 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I got up and went and ate lunch and went back home.
Yeah.
And slept. Right. But my arm was better. That my muscle relaxed, I guess.
Yeah.
And they kind of felt back in place. I mean, I don't know what it did because I didn't do anything, but it was sore and hurt, but it wasn't that sharp, dull pain.
Right.
And I'll never forget. So I told all that story to say how powerful that painkiller was and how powerful that muscle relaxer was.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't believe that that's like a thing. So I don't want to take them at all until I absolutely need it. And then it'll really work.
Right.
So I take, if I kind of need painkillers and I take one, or you
Sure.
do it recreationally.
Yeah.
And then you need that painkiller. it's less effective.
Right.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Like, I want to go to sleep. I want to get some good sleep. Let me take a muscle relaxer and sleep for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, you keep doing that,
Yeah, it adds up.
it's not going to work.
Yeah, I have a weird reaction to them. Like, it makes my skin feel like it's crawling.
Oh,
So, like, because I've had knee surgery, and I told you my shoulder, I dislocated it playing ice hockey. And
really?
what they did is they take you when you go to the ER, because that's where I went, because I couldn't figure out how to get it popped back in. It popped down.
Yeah.
And I go to the ER, and of course, the first thing they do is they take a muscle relaxer and lay here on this bed, and we're gonna make you wait because everything's so tensed up, and they just made me wait there.
Really?
And I was laying there, and I got real relaxed, and I was being loopy, and I was saying all kinds of crazy shit, and
I bet.
it was not a good scene.
So that was what they did, is
and then it
loosened your muscle.
and then it just popped itself back in. The guy
No.
came in and was like, "How's your shoulder feel?" And I go, "I don't know, it feels a lot better." I'm like moving my arm around now, and he's like, "Well, I guess it worked. It went back in."
No way.
He's like, if you couldn't relax it, they were gonna like put something under it and pop it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first
It kind
time.
of popped back itself.
It just went back. It just like everything chilled out and
That's
it went back
crazy.
in. But yeah, I slept like a baby though
I bet.
after that. So, but then of course, this was, I don't know, maybe 2001, 2002 or something. And they gave me a freaking fat bottle of hydrocodones. They're like, here you go, man. This is when they were handing them out. And they were like, when you run out, come get some more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I took a couple and I was like, just like my skin was itchy and just gross feeling. I was like, I don't want to feel like this. So
I'm glad you recognize that, and I hope I don't want to put anybody down that's hooked on them or does too many, but it's not a good thing. I mean, it's no way, shape, or form.
no, it ruins people's lives, man.
Yeah, and a real good friend of mine got on them, and we were at parties. I love him to death. He's still one of my dear friends, but we'd be at a party or something. One time he just fell over.
Yeah.
Like almost flat down. He was just a zombie, dude.
Yeah.
He was just taking them all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, people go through their spells. I'm not trying to judge folks,
Right.
and I'm not in their shoes. But it was sad, and he kicked it, and he had a tooth pulled about a year ago.
Yeah.
Of course, they gave him a bunch of pills. He's like,
Don't want 'em.
He's like, I don't want them, man.
Yeah.
So it's proof that even those that go down that road, they quickly realize they don't need them.
Yeah.
We're well over an hour, man. We could keep talking, but let's. I think the answer is let's make sure we do it again.
Yeah. Let's do it again, man.
Yeah,
This was a lot of fun.
I think this was a good conversation. We talked about a lot of good stuff, and ballpark for life. We didn't talk about why. We didn't talk about the crappy part. I don't know how to link it. No baseball.
No baseball.
I mean, there's got to be guys that we knew then that are still working. I guarantee.
100%.
Yeah.
Last time I went to a game, I was like, "Oh, there's Coach, whatever."
There's
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Still selling hot dogs.
Yeah, so they're playing just 10 and
fans.
17 or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Not good.
No. Typical Rangers.
All right, Mike. Next time.
Well, hold on.
Yeah. Go.
Do you still got it? Can you still do the yell?
Yeah.
Can you still sell me an ice cold beer?
Mine was simple. I said I didn't do beer. Remember?
Oh,
I did
that's right. You did
dogs.
hot dogs?
I just yelled it.
Okay.
Hot dogs. And see, I mean, hot dog. I mean, it was easy. Like,
Yeah.
I just hit it. Boom. I didn't do anything special. By the way, I love this story. I didn't say it earlier. I made the hot dog man quit.
You
That's
are
my-
the best.
That's my, like,
I think everybody hated that guy.
he had.
I'm going to get you a trophy or a shirt that says I made the hot dog guy quit.
He was he was pre-assigned at 119
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
And
Didn't he have an agent or something?
well, remember he was in the commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was actually a thing. And they would put me over there, and look, I was 19. I was hustling those steps, and when
Yeah.
I was out, I ran back to the commissary
Yeah.
to get more hot dogs. Like, it was just simple money thing to me. Like,
Yeah.
the more I do this, and I was accustomed to it, conditioned.
Sure.
So I ran. So then they put me on his side one time, and I'm doing circles around the guy.
Yeah.
And this is no disrespect to him, but like, he would just kind of walk, and he'd go, hot dogs. He'd do that goofy smile.
And then that smile.
And he'd kind of do it for a minute or two, and just wait for somebody to
Yeah.
take a picture or whatever.
Yeah.
He'd sell his dog. Well, I'm hitting every other stand,
Right.
and Mike Ramey, who his daughter and I grew up together, and then you knew Tyler.
Yeah.
You knew Tyler. So they ran it, and here I am. And this is me bragging, but like I had all these cells,
Yeah.
way more than the hot dog
Yeah.
guy did. And they're like, let's put him there instead.
Yeah.
And so I took his free assignment. I was at 119. He was upstairs selling lemon chills. I ain't seen him since, dude.
I don't think he knows what to do with the lemon chill.
No, I hadn't seen him since.
Oh, that's so funny, man.
All right, buddy. Well,
All right, buddy.
catch you next time.
Thanks, man.
That was a good ending, man.
It was good.